An open letter to Legally Lips. You got served, not scarred. A Botox breakdown in legal cosplay. Dear Legally Lips, just when we thought your court filings couldn't get any more self-obsessed, frivolous, and melodramatically detached from reality, you blessed the docket with your latest delusion. A full-blown lawsuit against a process server. Not a burglar, not a stalker, not a masked intruder breaking into your Botox bunker. No, you filed against someone whose job it is to deliver court documents because she had the audacity to walk near your hydrangeas and knock on your door like you were an ordinary human being. There comes a point where parody gives up trying to exaggerate because reality has gone too far. That point is you. You've now filed a lawsuit, an actual notarized, certified, submitted to a court of law lawsuit against a process server for the high crime of knocking on your door. And in doing so, you've made it undeniably clear your skin may be taut, your cheekbones may be carved from medical grade silicone, but your ego is made of wet Kleenex and desperation. You weren't served improperly, you weren't violated, you were simply inconvenienced. But since your entire life is a high-gloss performance art piece about controlling appearances, you turned that into an act of war. You filed a complaint so dramatic, so whiny, so self-inflated with self-pity, it should come with a safety valve. So let me get this straight. You served a process server, not for assault, not for property damage, not even for trespassing in the traditional sense. No, you sued because someone rang your doorbell, walked on your lawn, and had the audacity to suggest, based on your own warped performance, that a child might be alone inside the house. You weren't arrested. You weren't detained. You weren't even cited, but that didn't stop you from unleashing a 30-page meltdown disguised as litigation, accusing the server of emotional terrorism, child endangerment, defamation. And because Ferderigos filing is complete without it, extreme psychological traumas. You claim this server was on your property too long, that she peered through windows, that she talked to neighbors. Welcome to how process servers operate. This wasn't government conspiracy or a targeted harassment campaign. Your front yard is not the demilitarized zone. It was someone trying to hand you a manila envelope, something you should be familiar with by now, given how many times you've thrown yourself into litigation to soothe your own ego. You can wrap yourself in Louis Vuitton and live in a gated community, but when it comes to the law, sweet cheeks, you ain't no royalty. You just another citizen trying to avoid accountability. Your complaint reads like a failed script from desperate litigations of Windermere, and yet you write this complaint as if someone committed war crimes in your cul-de-sac. You note that the server parked her car at an angle. You time-stamped her walking away. You count the minutes, every single minute she spent on your property, like you're composing a victim impact statement for the Nuremberg trials. You list your home's valuation as if that's relevant to whether or not you can be served. Your Honor, I live in a $1.2 million home. I am far too rich to be inconvenienced by legal documents. That's not a legal argument. That's Real Housewives tagline. Let's pause here for a second because there's an elephant missing from your courtroom. Your husband. Where is he? Your life partner, your better litigator half, the man whose legal career is built entirely on suing for injuries sustained by grocery store tiles and parking lot cracks. Where's the slip and fall king of Orange County in your lawsuit against a process server? This case is practically engineered for him. You're alleging negligent business practices, emotional distress, invasion of privacy, defamation. It's a tort buffet. This is exactly the kind of case he typically jumps on faster than a broken step outside a Dollar General. So why are you, Legally Lips, filing this solo? Why are you walking into a court like Joan of Arc in contour, armed with nothing but your pro se filing and a ring cam? Could it be that even your own husband, the man who has no shame filing claims over phantom neck pain and poorly placed caution signs, refused to co-sign onto this nonsense? Could it be that he even took one look at your draft, arched an eyebrow, assumed he still can, and said, "Nah, I'm good, babe. You're on your own. How about you go drop a couple more pounds?" It says that everything this guy who earns his living turns stub toes into 5-figure settlements wouldn't touch this mess with a 10-foot selfie stick. Because deep down, everyone knows this isn't about justice. This is about humiliation. Yours. You weren't traumatized. You were caught off guard. Someone rang the doorbell and didn't immediately compliment your lashes. And now, because you can't cope with the idea of being seen without curating the frame, you're doing what you always do. Try to soothe the discomfort away. You layered this filing with buzzwords: defamation, negligence, invasion of privacy, emotional trauma. You claim psychological damage from a stranger suggesting a child might be home alone. Yet, curiously, you had to reconstruct your own whereabouts using security footage and timestamped timelines. Were the kids with you, with the sitter, on the golf cart? You seem much less concerned with parenting than you do with casting yourself in a starring role as a persecuted matriarch of a gated fantasy. Let's address this emotional distress, since you never miss a chance to monetize your fragility. You say your life was upended. You claim you were psychologically scarred. You let the court having police on your property for 20 minutes was dramatic. And yet somehow you found the strength to log into Facebook and post about it. You found the energy to draft multiple legal filings. You even managed to detail the entire incident down to the absolute minute with surveillance footage, gossip, neighborhood, and your signature delusional flair. You've even traumatized by someone ringing the bell. I hope the next Amazon driver has a body cam in a waiver form, because you're in for a treat. You whine about police officers arriving. You scream about being searched. They searched me. They looked me up and down. They were undressing me with their eyes. Well, you shriek over false report. Let's be clear, resulted in nothing. Not a charge, not a fine, not even a citation. But to you, this was a constitutional crisis. You act like the SWAT team showed up with drones and tear gas, and in reality, someone knocked on your door, asked a question, and left you to spiral into legal lunacy. And now you want damages. Oh, want punitive sanctions. For what? Because a processor server treated you like an adult, not a fragile relic from the legally Barbie collection? No one invaded your privacy. What they did was pierce your bubble. And let's be honest, that bubble is filled with Botox, insecurity, and enough self-pity to float a cruise ship. This isn't about drama. It never is with you. This is about control. You want to own the narrative the same way you try to own your own face. Padded, polished, frozen into something unrecognizable from the truth. You can't stand the idea that you don't get to dictate how the world sees you, so you lash out at anyone who dares treat you like a civilian instead of a queen. You sued a process server because she didn't recognize your delusions of grandeur. You're offended that the legal system treats you like everyone else, and nothing, not your zip code, not your injections, not your pathological obsession with how you look, can shield you from the simple fact that you are not above the law. You are not the victim of a crime. You are the architect of your own embarrassment. And every time you file another overwrought, self-indulgent court document to preserve your vanity and punish reality for being unflattering, you make it more obvious. The damage isn't emotional, Leslie. It's psychological. This is the same pattern we've seen before. cry foul when people mocked your live stream appearances. You threatened creators who pointed out your bar record. You begged the court to seal your other defamation suits so no one could read the allegations you filed. And now you've turned your ire on a process server. A woman who, by your own admission, didn't even succeed in serving you because she had the audacity to question the facade you've constructed. But unfortunately for you, the courts don't operate like your Instagram comment section. They don't delete the truth just because you don't like the way it makes you feel. And that's what this is really about, isn't it? Feeling. You feel exposed. You feel scrutinized. You feel ordinary. And nothing terrifies you more than being seen as ordinary. You're not as smart as you think you are. You're not as pretty as you think you are. You're just ordinary. When the makeup comes off and the eyelashes go away and the Botox goes away, you're left as an empty shell. You're not the helpless victim you pretend to be. So file another complaint, post another picture, reheat the same tired monologue about how oppressed you are by people who dare to look in your directions, but do it knowing this: even your own ambulance chasing husband doesn't believe you. Because in fact, you've been a backstage puppeteer in this drama for quite some time, all of it with the Hales. Long before your live stream cameos and your carefully worded lawsuits, you were operating behind the scenes, spreading lies about Jeremy Hales, feeding misinformation to content creators, stoking fires in private chats you thought would never come to light. Now the public is starting to see that Legally Lips isn't just some neutral observer who stumbled into the drama. You've been part of the Anti-WTH smear machine for months, if not longer. Your fingerprints are all over the lies, over the gossip, over the false narratives, trying to paint Jeremy as something he's not. You didn't just observe the chaos, you helped engineer it. And you don't like being exposed. This is a tantrum, sweet cheeks. A tantrum thrown by a woman who could not accept the real world doesn't operate according to her filters, her fantasy, or her Instagram face. A tantrum from someone who has spent months lying in the shadows, smearing reputations, and now wants to play innocent because the spotlight turned in her direction. You want sympathy, but you've been orchestrating sabotage. You want privacy, but you've been stalking YouTubers. You want peace, but you've been feeding the chaos beyond the scenes and calling it truth-seeking. You want the public to believe you're the persecuted one. You are not. They all now see you are the predator pretending to be prey. So here's what I suggest. Instead of suing process servers, defaming creators, and trying to manipulate your court proceedings into therapy sessions, maybe go fix what's really broken. Not your doorbell, not your blinds, not your carefully manufactured timeline. I'm talking about your perspective, your ego, and your pathological inability to tell the truth unless it benefits your narrative. Because at this point, not even your slip and fall husband is willing to co-sign onto your trauma cosplay, and that says more than any pleading ever could. Sincerely, Shizzy Wisnut, still not hiding behind sealed filings, burner accounts, or fake trauma, and still unmoved by every wig, lash, and manipulated timeline you throw at the world, and most definitely your daddy. Bah.
It is about time. Let's break this mother down. With Shizzy, Wiz, Nut.